I'm Mike DeLuca. Welcome to this rare, in-the-trenches look at the craft of screenwriting. Today I'm joined by the writing-directing team of Peter and Bobby Farrelly. These two have created the template for the modern comedy with the instant classic, There's Something About Mary, as well as films like Dumb and Dumber, Shallow Hal, and Me, Myself, and Irene. Thanks for coming by, you guys.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Of course, you know, I met you on Dumb and Dumber, which was...
You gave us our start.
Your first
We wouldn't be here
directorial
if not for you. That's the truth.
Yeah, everyone in town, if you remember, passed on that over and over again. We couldn't get it made, and then finally you guys over at New Line.
Okay, I created the modern comedy classic. Peter, you have a daughter named Apple, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Does it piss you off that ugly guy from Coldplay kind of stole your idea and gets play off it?
Not at all. I don't blame him. I love the name myself, but I have to say, I do have to point out a lot and say, well, we were first. I don't want people to think when they meet Apple, my Apple, you know, you jumped on that Apple bandwagon. I'm always, no, we were the first Apple.
Yeah, but then they named their second kid Moses after my kid, which was weird.
Yeah, it's getting a little
It's getting a little weird.
Yeah.
It's getting a little creepy. Can you tell us or set the scene about how you guys work, how you develop a specific idea and how it goes from there, what your process is from day one to first draft?
You know, we're kind of lazy, so the fact that there's two of us is an advantage to us because, you know, we get one guy to do it while the other guy takes a nap. Now,
one for the price of two.
We don't really have the exact same sensibilities, but we share common goals. We want to make people, you know, entertain people and make them laugh. So, you know, we just feel like it's better to have two of us than one. We feel like the whole is better than the sum of the parts.
And how do you go about developing the kind of the
you know,
the project?
Different ways. You know, I must say this, we're not really great idea men. You know, we haven't, like, we usually, someone usually gives us an idea and we go write it. Dumb and Dumber was a producer had brought us the idea for Dumb and Dumber. There was no script. He said, hey, what about two dumb guys drive cross country? And we ran with it, wrote that. Something About Mary was a script written by Ed Decter and John Strauss, who were friends of ours. And we loved what they had done. They had a great script, but we went in and we rewrote that. It's really, we're sparked by good ideas. And when we agree that they're a good idea, because a lot of times I'll think something's a good idea, you know, or he will and I will. But when we both want something, and when we both say, hey, that's great, then we go off and we take a couple months and write it.
And once you've decided or locked in on the idea, do you outline or how does the process of development work for you guys?
We don't outline. We never really know where we're going. We try to spend a lot of time on a good opening act where we create a character that we feel like almost anything can happen to this guy, and hopefully the audience is going to be with him and rooting for him, and you know, kind of like in Ben Stiller's character and There's Something About Mary. We spent a lot of time in the beginning of the movie trying to get you to like him so much that no matter what happens to him, you're with him, and that's really the challenge. But after that, we don't really know where we're going. We just write. You know,
I went to grad school for creative writing, and one week we had a seminar, and John Irving came in, the novelist and screenwriter. And I remember he told us something. He said he never begins a novel until he knows the very last line. We do the exact opposite. And God bless him, but we don't want to know where a screenplay is going. When we write, and a great example is Something About Mary. When we were writing Something About Mary, rewriting it, Decter Strauss script, we got to about page 50, and it was so evident that she was going to end up with Ted that we were just stuck. We were like, wait a second, this is boring. Everybody knows. And right around that time, I saw the movie Bottle Rocket. And in Bottle Rocket, they start off, you know, Owen breaks out of a mental institution, and he has a 5-year plan. He says, we're going to rob places for a couple years, and we're going to do this, and we're going to invest the money, we're going to do this. And they set off, and the first night they stop at a motel, and one of the guys meets the chambermaid. They never leave. You know, he's madly in love with her, and it goes off in that direction. And I remember it inspired me thinking, what are we doing? Why am I locked in that he has to end up with Mary? So I told Bobby, you got to see this movie. You know, this is how we should be thinking. And it sparked us. From that point on, when we wrote, we didn't know personally who Mary would end up with. We wrote it in a way that any of the guys was a possibility. And it really wasn't until the very end, 5 pages from the end, where we thought, you know what, I think we have, at that point, we looked at it, we thought, we think that we have the audience sufficiently fooled that we can give them Ted, but we honestly didn't know until that point.
Did you ever think about it not being Ted? Or
Absolutely.
Yeah, we always do
all
that.
for that. We were going to let the right guy get her. We wrote that way. And it's a kind of a crapshoot way of writing.
Right.
Irving if John Irving could not write this way, and God bless him, that he could write his way. We're not that smart. I can't sit at the beginning of a script and see every way it's going to go. We don't want to do that. In fact, we work out a first act, and that's all we work out. And then we get together and we see, well, let's see where this thing wants to go, and we go that way.
Do you have a specific way you break down the duties between the two of you, or not? Or it depends on each project?
No.
Every day is different,
We write together.
We try to write, we get together, we try to write, let's say we try to write 5 pages a day. A script is 120 pages. So, that's just like a good rule of thumb. If we can do that, we've had a pretty good day.
Do you have debates about who's got the funniest line or funniest scene for a script, and how do you resolve those debates between the both of you?
It's not so much who has the funniest line, because I don't ever remember thinking like, oh, this is funnier than that. Mm-hmm. But we constantly have debates. We butt heads. We butt heads 2 times in the process of making a movie: writing and editing. Making a movie, when we're filming a movie, never disagree. I mean, very rarely. Maybe once a movie, I don't know about that. We're in sync. But the writing process is about you have kind of an idea and you're going in that direction, and the other person is trying to pull it in another direction, and you're finding the place where it's the best, and it's we've given this example before, but when it works at its best, it's like when we did develop in Something About Mary the hair gel thing. Mm-hmm. And we usually don't remember who wrote what, because it isn't one person. Okay. Somebody had a spark of an idea, and then someone did this and did that, blah, 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 blah. So someone says, who wrote that joke? I'm, geez, I don't remember.
So it's truly co-authored.
Totally. Yeah. But I do remember specifically that, and maybe it's because it is one of the funniest things we ever wrote, the hair gel. And I had thought about the idea of, what if a guy masturbated and lost the product? What if he's at it and then you're like, hey, what the heck? Where'd that go? And we were driving along one day, and I said, hey, Bob, maybe there's a way. We were working on Something About Mary at the time, but we weren't. I said, is there a way that we could ever put this in a script, or is this too much? This might be way too much. Guy loses the stuff, and he said, that's great. He said, but the question is, where is it? I said, oh, geez, I don't know. He said, but think about it. That's what's funny. Where is it? Like, what if it ends up like on, his earlobe, and he doesn't know it? And I was, oh, that's funny. That's really funny. And then we were driving along. I remember we drove for about 5 minutes, and we were just kind of giggling, talking about other stuff. And then I said, wait a second. If it's on his earlobe, he could be out. He could leave. He could go out in public. And he says, well, what if he has like a date or something? We're like, oh my God, what if he's got a date? And then we're thinking, wait a second. What if we use this for Mary? And she's coming over, and he's got the date, and it's on the earlobe, and then we're laughing. We drive another 5-10 minutes, and then we're thinking, well, wait a second. He says, what would she think it is? I'm like, I don't know. Well, what if she thought it was? What if she asked him, and what would he say? And we're like, what would you say? I don't know, hair gel? And we're thinking, oh, that's funny. So he could cover himself with the hair gel. And then like 20 minutes later, if she thinks it's hair gel, she might put it in her hair. And then you're in that part, and again, another half hour later, it's like, well, wait a second. If she put it in her hair, it could harden, and that's the best kind. It really is like, I had a seed of an idea, no pun intended. And Bobby pushes me in a direction, then I push back, and then boom, 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 and you've come up with something.
Oh, that's a great definition of the collaboration.
Yeah.
So it was just each 5 minutes of the drive, it got to a more inappropriate location.
As I remember, I was only driving the car. He said all those things himself, but it is collaborative.
True. Yeah.
Do you ever have other people, friends or family, kind of read your scripts and give input before you go out with them?
Always, yeah.
Is that helpful?
Absolutely, yeah, it is. And you got to have people read it that are going to give you the straight scoop, because if it's not good or something's not working, they have to be honest with you, But you kind of, we learned that when they like it and when they don't. And, it's kind of like us, and we believe also, once we put the movie together, going out and showing it to an audience and really listening to what they say, where they're laughing, where they're not laughing, are they confused? And like, we make a lot of tweaks. We never have it so we're like, oh, we can't change this. We just love it too much. We'll always tweak it depending on how it's playing for the audience.
But you have to have a thick skin, because, you get your feelings hurt. When we did Dumb and Dumber, being our first movie, we always shoot a little long. In Dumb and Dumber, the movie ended up being an hour and 48 minutes, which is on the long side for a comedy. But the first assembly was 3 hours and 40 minutes. And we went in and we worked it down to about 3 hours.
Thanks for not showing me that.
Yeah. Well, at 3 hours, we called all our friends and we said, you got to see this. We thought, how are we going to cut another minute? It's perfect.
First film.
Yeah. And we filled a room at MPCA, the little screening room, and we had about, 50, 60 people come. Half of them were friends, half of them were strangers. We were pulling people off the street. And we showed them the entire movie, the 3 hours. And one of our good friends was the first one out the door. Bobby walked out and he was waiting next to him, a guy named Timmy Sheehan. And Bobby says, so what'd you think? He said, the truth? He says, yeah. He says, the worst. The all-time worst. He just walked off.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And people were horrified. They were like, this is the biggest piece of crap I've ever seen.
Well, you know what it was too, is that we haven't color timed it. We haven't put the music in. It's choppy. It's like it is a real rough cut. And most people who haven't seen a rough cut are going to look at it like, I can't believe you guys think this is going to compete with what a real movie looks like. This looks like crap. And I think he was.
Plus the 3 hours. I mean, I don't care what it is. Comedy. They were just worn out. By 2.5 hours in, they're thinking, I hate these guys. I hate them for doing this to us. Why would they do this? And they weren't pulling punches. Right. We were saying, what did you like? And like, kind of like this.
So I'm guessing you didn't warn them about the length, or that speech you give in front of assemblies about the music's temporary. Be ready for a rough cut.
They weren't ready for it. We cut about an hour and 20 minutes the next morning.
Do you believe in that kind of? Do you have the belief that comedy should be test screened more than other genres? And do you do a lot of test screenings for your films for that reason?
We are big believers in test screening. And by the way, I hate them. I hate them. They're painful. I don't like doing them, but we do them because you learn. You've got to be. We learn a lot, yeah. And what you learn is, it's not so much people sitting up afterwards. I hate the part where they put 20 people afterwards.
The focus group?
The focus group, and there's, all giving their opinions. What I like, although you get little things out of that, like, I didn't understand this. Why didn't you? Okay, hold on, we have to explain that better. But for the most part, it's just you listen. Did they laugh or didn't they? And if they didn't laugh, it's not working. You might think it's hysterical, but if they didn't laugh, and we do that over and over and over. We usually do 3 or 4 test screenings before we do the official test screenings. Like, we'll sneak it at colleges and stuff like that, get little groups of people. So by the time we do our first test screening, we have an idea of where it's going, and then it's always a little painful.
Peter, you're a novelist too, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you determine kind of when you have an idea of what format you're going to put it in?
Well, I actually think much more like a screenwriter, and screenwriting's my first job. I write novels on my spare time. My spare time. It's.
Do the two types of writing ever feed each other?
Not really. Novel. I love writing novels. I wish I had more time to do it, but. It's a lot more freedom. You could do whatever you want. You're not thinking in terms of like, well, this script has to be around 120 pages, and you've got to pretty much get to the point by page 20, let them know what the heck's going on here. Novel writing is completely different, and there is more freedom, and it's very satisfying in a different way. But it's time consuming. I'm a slow writer. Both my novels took about 10 years to write, and I've been working on the third one for about 7 years.
When did you two first know that you wanted to write comedy, or know that was going to be the thing for you guys? And why did you think that over anything else?
We didn't have any idea that we were going to be writers anyway when we were growing up, But I think that we were just drawn to comedies. We always liked the Bill Murray type character, and the guys coming up like that. And it just was when we were going to go out to a movie as kids or something, we'd always pick the comedy. So it was just our genre.
A natural progression?
I think so.
Yeah, but we didn't start writing until, mid-20s. We were both business. I was a business major, he was engineering, and had no inclination towards it. We weren't big readers. We were kind of disgraceful as kids, actually, in a lot of ways. We were terrible students, we were embarrassments, and we weren't.
He's sugarcoating it too. We were ne'er-do-wells, and we sucked at everything we did. We really did. I was terrible at my job. He was not much better at his.
Your buildings fell down. His company
pretty
went
much
bankrupt.
failed across the board from like 4th grade on. Although Bobby was a good athlete, he played college hockey, but But other than that, we were terrible students. And our parents were very successful. Our father was a doctor, our mother was a nurse practitioner. And we have 3 sisters who were all smart and they got great grades. So it really, the spotlight on us, it was really tough on our parents for a long time. Plus we like to party.
But did you get from 4th grade to 12th grade? Because it's kind of, all right, so that was successful.
Yeah,
he went to 4 different high schools.
More than 8 years, but we got there.
He went to 4 different high schools and could have been 5 or 6, but we had connections.
Yeah, but you know what? It was liberating that we were not very good at everything, because it did open up the fact that we could come out here and out to California, from Rhode Island and give it a try. It's like we didn't have anything to lose. We really didn't. Whereas kids who were doing better than us back home, who were growing up, would naturally go into their dad's business or something, and later on we realized it was a good thing that we didn't have anything keeping us back there.
I had a good friend who was on the fast track from 9th grade on. He was a straight A student, great hockey player. He went to Yale. He, got locked in. I remember I was talking to him once at one of our premieres, because we always do premieres back in Rhode Island. And he said, boy, you had the luxury of failure, man. He said, because, and it's true, it's like what Bobby was saying. When I was 24 years old, I was a dead-end job. I was doing lousy at it. I had nothing to lose. And I'd been thinking for a year or two, geez, I'd kind of like to become a writer. And I wasn't in a position where I had to hold on to anything. I just thought, wow, why not? I went at it, and people said, boy, you were brave to really go for it. I was like, well, it wasn't so much bravery. It's just I had nothing to lose. And sort of he didn't too, so I yanked him in and said, hey, you know what? Let's try this.
Was it really rewarding and exciting after kind of growing up with the Bill Murray comedies to write for him and work with him in Kingpin?
Yeah, there's a few guys you meet along the way who, we're not very starstruck, but there's a couple guys who, it just blow my mind that I've worked with them. One of them, of course, is Bill Murray. One of the great people I met out here, it's kind of corny, but is Cher. Cher was in Stuck on You, and I got to tell you, she was it was one of the most exciting experiences working with her, just because she was cool. She was she's a great actress. She's a good person. And just to be hanging around with Cher, we were just kind of scratching our heads sometimes.
Boozing with Cher.
Boozing with Cher.
That's great.
But
she's great in the movie, too.
Yeah, and just working with guys like Lowell Gans and Babalu Mandel, who have been my heroes for 20 years, ever since Night Shift. It's nice.
Who else do you find funny? What other people do you find funny?
There's a lot of new guys that are funny, obviously, Will Ferrell and Owen Wilson and all those guys.
Owen Wilson cracks me up. I'm more than anybody. I don't know why. Everything he does cracks me up. And I think that, what's his name?
Steve Carell.
Steve Carell. He's about as funny as it gets right now. He can do no wrong by me. I just see a picture of him and I giggle. He's just got something.
Do you read other screenplays around town, kind of to see who's writing what? And have you read some that are your favorites, or just, anything that inspires you on a comedy level or any genre?
We have a lot of people who, personally, I don't like to read other screenplays just because, there are only so many ideas, and you
it's
don't
time consuming.
And yeah, you're just afraid that's kind of like what we were doing, and then I'd rather just be thinking from a clean slate. But we have people who do read a lot of screenplays in our company, and sooner or later they give you one and say, you got to read this. And those are the ones that you really enjoy, because they've really gone through work their way up, and almost everyone before you agrees that this is a very good screenplay. Those are the ones we read.
Alan Loeb, I don't know if you're familiar with him, he's an up-and-coming screenwriter. Somebody gave us one of his scripts called The Baster, which is one of the best written scripts I've come across in a long time. And so guys like that, when you find a good script, I am interested. Who's a great screenwriter is Wes Anderson and Owen. Their screenplays, Rushmore is one of the best screenplays I've ever read in my life. It read like great fiction. The actual writing within it, forget the story, but the actual writing, the way he puts words together is very impressive. He's a smart guy, and I do look forward to his screenplays.
Do you have influences as writers of comedy, from previous writers in the genre? Can you point to any influences?
I think all of our influences in comedy are outside of the world of Hollywood. They're people that made us laugh when we were growing up. The guy down the street who was a real character, and kid at school in the schoolyard who was, pulling his weenie out of his pocket and showing it to girls, telling them it was a frog.
I've seen you do that.
Those are the guys that they're the ones that we still laugh at, and so we try to work people like that and things that made us laugh into our stories. We're not the type that went and studied the films before us and all to learn technique.
So you draw more from real life inspiration?
Pretty much. And if we did have influences, cultural influences, it was usually TV. The Three Stooges. Andy Griffith Show is really sort of the template for what we do. Andy Griffith, we found, that's probably my all-time favorite show. And it's because I knew I was always going to, especially the ones from 60 to 66 before it went into color, the ones with Don Knotts. Mm-hmm. And the reason they were great is because I always knew I was going to laugh, but I also felt something. And we have tried to do that ever since. We always feel like it's not enough to make people laugh. You got to let them feel something, because we want them to care about what happens at the end. And a lot of comedies, after an hour, you're like, okay, come on, let's wrap it up. I know where it's going, but they don't really care.
Do you have any set rules for the way you write in terms of like pacing and structure and getting to a certain point by a certain point, or is it kind of free form? Or is it just that first act?
I'm sure we have rules, but it's none that we've written down. But the one rule we do try to abide by is that if we ever get to a point in the screenplay where something happens where you say, oh, I've seen this in 100 movies, and so the audience knows exactly what's going to happen next. We really take a lot of time to think, well, then let's do something different, give them something different than they think is going to happen. An example of that would be it's just a small example, but when in Mary, there was a scene when Ben Stiller's character had gone to pick her up for the prom and all, and it was just him, coming to the door and we were thinking, well, who's the guy who opened the door? What's the dad like? And at first we started thinking, maybe it's like a
cardigan.
Like a kind of like Chris Farrelly type, like playing an older guy, something like that, pipe, or we just started thinking all these things that seemed like the obvious one. And then we just said, yeah, they're all, we've seen it. Like, I wanted to come and there's a black guy, and the mom had remarried a guy that you just don't know. It's like it's so different that you didn't. It just changes everything immediately, and the audience is a little off guard, And
so one rule would be just avoiding kind of the expected.
Yeah, we always ask ourselves periodically, what does the audience think is happening right now? Well, then where do they think we're going? Well, you can't continue in that direction, but you also have to satisfy them. You can't say, oh, you thought this was going to happen, and have them be like angry. It must also be satisfying. The other thing we do a lot, by the way, is we believe in painting ourselves into a corner. We like nothing more when we're writing a screenplay than when we get to a spot where it seems, well, geez, how are we going to get out of this? If we have to take 2 or 3 days to figure that out, that's perfect, because that means the person sitting in the theater isn't going to figure it out in a minute.
Can you give us an example of a really strong case of that, where you guys were in a hopeless corner and it took an unreasonably long amount of time to get out of it?
Well, with Dumb and Dumber, we had a heck of a time coming up with an ending, and if you remember, we had to go out and shoot about 5 different ones because we really didn't know how to end it. We didn't feel like the guys should get the girl or something, because it felt like, that's the traditional thing that happens in a movie is they go out there, he's chasing a girl, and then he gets her. But with Harry and Lloyd and Dumb and Dumber, it's like they don't get her, and it's okay because they still have each other, and they're just, really they're too dumb to get her.
That's what I remember.
For you to believe.
I remember you wanting to uphold the rule of they're too dumb to get the girl or really win at the end, but they kind of have won because they still have each other and they don't feel as bad as they did in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, it's okay if they ever weren't friends anymore. That would be like, oh, well, that's a terrible disappointment. But we felt like they didn't have to get the girl. But it took us a lot of endings to get to where that felt like it was working.
Do you ever write with commerciality in mind?
No, I can't say we do, but on the other hand, we always do. I mean, we never think of in terms of like, oh, this could be a bigger hit because, if we do this or do that, but we do recognize the fact that, well, this is we do studio movies. That's what we've done so far, and they're investing their money in us, and we take pride in coming in under budget, coming in under days, and making them money. You want that movie to make money. That's how you keep working. You can't be arrogant about it. But no, we don't think like, you know, sometimes we've been offered things that I thought, you know, oh, that's a smash hit, but I didn't want to do it. Just, you know, it just was too obvious, and yeah, with the right people, that could be huge, but it just didn't excite us.
Yeah, we were offered early on, I think it was right after we did Dumb and Dumber, we were offered Ace Ventura 2, and it was like, well, that's like a no-brainer, you know, that's going to be a successful movie.
Yeah.
But we kind of just thought, well, you know, we didn't, and we went and made Kingpin, which was financially a terrible decision.
That
right?
was a bust, and that came out, that didn't make a lot of money, made $25 million. And,
but no regrets, you know.
None.
You know, I mean, we
And that's enjoyed such a life on the home platforms.
Yeah, it did. It became a big hit on video, but there was about 6 months there where it was very painful.
But you know, occasionally, like you come across a movie like I'll use Wedding Crashes for an example, and you think, you know what, that's a high concept movie. It's a movie that we would love to have been involved with because it is commercial, and it's one that you can kind of sum up quickly. Guys are crashing weddings, you know, to get laid, and you know what happens to these guys as it's doing. It's like we love ideas like that. It's a commercial idea, and so we are drawn to those kind.
Have you ever abandoned a screenplay partway through and just kind of not completed it because it wasn't going to happen? And if so, which one?
I don't think we ever have we?
No, we've gotten halfway through and I think thought, I don't know, this isn't our best work or something.
Well, we always get halfway through and think that. Almost always, by the time we get to page 40 to 50, I look back, like I'll read those first 40 pages, you just want to throw up. It's terrible. And you end up throwing out 20, 30 pages, and you take the best 10 or 20 pages and run from there. But that always happens. We push through those. The first 40 are the toughest pages, I think.
Gotcha.
But once you get like on a roll and you find a real nice through line there, then things click.